Material equivalence, a rule of replacement. Like some of our other rules, this is really two in one. P, if and only if Q, is logically equivalent to if P then Q and if Q then P. That biconditional is also logically equivalent to either P and Q or not P and not Q. Like other rules of replacement, on either side of the four dots are statements that have the exact same truth table. They're logical equivalents, and they can be replaced one for the other in any whole or partial line. P if and only if Q means that P if Q, also known as if Q then P, and P only if Q, usually called if P then Q, are both true. All the information we say in if and only if is contained in if then and if then. All the same logical information is going on both sides of those dots. Looking at the second version of the rule, P if and only if Q means that either P and Q are both true or P and Q are both false. If we know the truth table for the biconditional, that one shouldn't be surprising at all. These are three ways of saying that P and Q have the same truth value. Let's take a look with some simple inputs, A and B. A, if and only if B, is the same logically as if A then B and if B then A. It's also the same as either A and B or not A and not B. You can use material implication no matter how long or complicated the inputs are. We could put in not A and B and either C or not D for P and Q, and that would get something too long to read in this video. But the biconditional would still turn into arrow, or and, or not and not. The same format is followed every time, no matter how long the things on either side of the biconditional are. This switches the main operator between double arrow, and arrow, and or not and not. This is the only rule that uses the double arrow, whether to add it or remove it. As a rule of replacement, it applies in both directions to any whole or partial line. It cites one line and results in one line. We can use some translations to sort out how biconditionals work. The car starts if and only if you turn the key. It's logically the same as saying, if you turn the key, then the car starts, and if the car starts, then you turn the key. It's also equivalent to saying either the car starts and you turn to the key, or the car doesn't start and you didn't turn the key. All of those tell us that the car starting and turning the key track perfectly. The truth table may be kind of terrifying to look at, but it's pretty informative. The biconditional is only true when P and Q have the same truth value. That's also true of if P then Q and if Q then P. And it's also true in the last column of P and Q or not P and not Q, with the first half of the disjunct true in the first line and the second half of the disjunct true in the fourth line. Let's take a look at how to correctly use material equivalence. If P then Q, P, so Q. You might be tempted to use modus ponens here, but that's actually an error. Don't worry, it won't take us too long to do this though. First step, material equivalence. Let's get the conditionals. Your second step might be to do the other kind of material equivalence, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. However, it's a lot less common than conditional and conditional. I don't find myself using it very frequently. What I usually do instead is change the biconditional to if P then Q and if Q then P, and then simplify both of those conditionals. Sometimes I'll do these three steps right away when I see a biconditional without even looking at the rest of the proof. Of course, that means some wasted effort, sometimes like in this proof, which finishes without signing light 5. Let's take a look at another proof, a little bit longer this time. It should be relatively intuitive that P, if and only if Q, entails both Q if and only if P, and not P if and only if not Q. These are really all just more ways of saying that P and Q have the same truth value in different orders. Still, our first step is going to be material equivalence. P and Q, and if Q then P. Then we'll switch the order so that we can do material equivalence with Q on the left side. Now we want to work on that if not P if and only if not Q. So we'll use transposition on line 3. It's already in the right order to get not P at the left side of the biconditional, so we get if not P, then not Q, and if P, then Q. Now we'll use transposition again, and we'll get if not P, then not Q, and if not Q, then not P. And that allows us to introduce our biconditional with material equivalence. If not P, if and only if not Q. Now we use conjunction, and we add them together, and we've solved the proof. For this next proof, we are going to use the second version. It may be a little bit less common, but it's nevertheless quite important. Not A, if and only if not B, and it's not the case that A and B, therefore not A and not B. Well, this is a pretty good setup for a disjunctive syllogism. So let's go ahead and do the second form of material equivalence and see if it works out. Not A and not B, or not A and not B. Remember that you must put negations around on the inputs on one side of the disjunction. Since these are already negated, they're going to come out double negated. But we'll use double negation once and twice to get not A and not B, or A and B. Now we'll use that disjunctive syllogism and get not A and not B. There's a couple of common errors with material equivalence, which is no surprise since it's a little bit complicated looking, but you also need to use it relatively frequently. The first is skipping material equivalence and going straight into modus ponens or modus tollens. P if and only if Q, therefore Q. You can't do that in one line. You need to use material equivalence and then simplification. An even more common error is simply losing track of what goes where in long biconditionals. They can get long, and the statements that are equivalent to them can get really long. Be very careful when using this rule.